Any other thoughts on NBA most valuable player here, Ken, in the wake of Embiid's injury, suffered Tuesday night against the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, I pitched you the like, what's more likely to happen? Jokic go out to a big favorite, like that could be the next price move. And as much as we can predict these things, obviously, like someone can step wrong tonight and get hurt. Like that's not really what we're talking about. Some of these can be more predictable than like if you're trying to time the stock market, for example, like it's just not going to work. Like you're just not going to be able to do it as often as you think you are in order to win. This stuff, like these markets don't really work like that. They can be late. They can not have stuff baked into them properly. They're just not as efficient by a lot, honestly. And that doesn't mean you're going to win, but it means it's like actually worth it to play out this exercise. So like my guess for that was like the next move in MVP. I think it's going to be SGA getting closer to Jokic. And I guess that's obvious because like they play tonight and Jokic isn't playing. So maybe that's a really short-term thing. I do think there's a way the next move is Jokic gets out more. The next straw poll will almost certainly come out the All-Star break. Jokic will be winning it. Like we're not breaking any news by saying that with Embiid out. And I don't even know how it'll be presented. Like, will he allow people to vote for Embiid and it'll count for this one? In which case Embiid will win, but he won't win the award. Like he'll just win the halfway through the season MVP.
The
so
CLV
I don't know how that's
trophy.
going to be structured. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's a lot of jokes there. I don't know how that one's going to be structured. I think you could make an argument Jokic out big is the next move. Just like, why though? Like not playing, the stat lines have been, for him, pedestrian, but for everybody else, they still look amazing. Is there really like a lot of buzz around like pushing this? There's a lot of buzz around Embiid and now somebody else has to win. I don't know if it's him. I'm like, I texted with somebody just before the show. Like I'm pretty open-minded about this one now that I'm out of it. Like I always kind of just thought Embiid was going to win a second one, and that was the most likely thing. And now that that's been removed, kind of free to just, I guess it could be kind of anything. I'll say SGA down is next, but you could argue Giannis down because it's big. Luka could go crazy some more. They're just not going to win enough, I think. I'll say SGA down, but I think there's that's a really lukewarm opinion. I think there's a lot of ways it could go.
Would you want to take a shot at like Tatum ever, at Kawhi ever, if we think that this could get nuts here and be like one of the craziest MVP voting cycles we've seen? And look, the answer could be no, but I feel like it's a question worth asking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's totally okay to ask, I think. I don't think it's a stupid question at all. Because I think when you remove Embiid, you have to consider like everybody, honestly. Tatum's issue is going to be in the advanced metrics. He just trails by so much. And even though the team's awesome and they're going to get the one seed going away, I don't think you can overlook just how bad statistically he is versus the other players. It's too much to overcome, and they're not going to win like 68 games. Like they dropped a couple too many games to have like a big record. I think they're going to win like 62 games or 63 games. And that's still awesome, by the way. That's a great regular season. I just think the numbers are too bad. They can get better, but for now, I think they're too bad. Kawhi, like, it's kind of the same problem. There's this tier of guys. Like and Embiid was in it. And it's Embiid and it's Jokic and it's SGA and it's Giannis. And it's kind of Luka, but he's fifth and he's kind of on the fringes. And it's everything, right? It's EPM, it's box plus minus, it's PER, it's some of the other plus minuses out there. There's a really defined order. And Tatum's not even in the order. He's like over here doing something else. And so is Kawhi Leonard. And these are the guys that are like truly competing to be the most valuable players. And so, I think picking one of them to be the next move or Jokic to get out to a bigger favorite would be the wise way to predict this.
Just like price most likely to drop in most improved right now, where Maxey is a really big favorite, minus 225. Şengün in Houston, plus 250, who was awesome. Maybe he won't win now. Scotty Barnes, 12. Kobe White, 18. And we can talk about some other names as well. So is this Ken, like, is it actually like Maxey's going to become like a bigger favorite now? And like it's bet Maxey now? What about most improved player trying to get ahead of a move in the market?
Yeah, if we'd had this conversation a week ago, I probably would have said the most likely thing to happen is someone takes Maxey's win probability, and Şengün is like by far the most likely player to do that. I think he's a great candidate. He may not.
So
I don't think they've
good.
announced the All-Star reserves yet, but like he's playing at that level. So like just because of the way the West works, maybe he gets squeezed out. But he's still playing at that level. I don't think not making the game would make him ineligible to win. I think people would still think of him really well, even if he didn't play in the game. And the reason why I would have been cool on Maxey and not interested is Embiid back and playing, which has an effect, obviously. And I think more importantly, the idea that the Sixers would seem likely to make a move at the deadline to maybe add another scorer or add another contributor, which would decrease Maxi's usage. So I think it's like, okay, let's see what they do, but I'm not sure Maxi's going to the finish line here as like a big time candidate. If Embiid's going to be back and they're going to add someone, that's going to squeeze him out a little bit. That's going to make him a little less likely to have these explosive performances. Well, now, I mean, everything's changed, right? I mean, Embiid has this series of injuries, and you're just kind of like, is the most likely move that this ends? You know, that he plays really well in Embiid's absence. And now, to be fair, Maxi's missed the last 3 games with an ankle injury. Nick Nurse said he would be back. I think they play tomorrow. And maybe that happens. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe Maxi misses more time, and that hurts his candidacy. But, like, if he comes back and it's, hey, Joel's going to be out for a little bit, like, it's you. Well, now all of a sudden, like, look what happens, right? He's going to get all the credit. They win any games, it's on him. Now, one of the things I disliked about him, months ago as a candidate is it's usually not the second banana. It's usually not the guy who's, just, scoring a lot, but, like CJ McCollum is probably a good comp historically, where like Lillard is the best player, but he's like the co-best, so he could win when he improves.
He's Robin.
Yeah, and like Batman. Robins win this sometimes. They don't never win. Terrible sentence, but like they do win sometimes. They just don't win a lot. And if there was a Batman somewhere else like Şengün, then that makes things a little different. Or Scotty Barnes, like originally I think would have fit this profile, but now like if he gets to be Batman and he gets to do it like in the second half of the season when everyone's actually thinking about this stuff, I think it's possible his price really takes off. So it's definitely the Embiid injury. Here's how I'll frame it. The Embiid injury, I had some visions of like, man, we have no polling. What if no one actually likes him for this? Like, that's always the thought that runs through my head. We have no idea how people feel about this market. What if no one likes him? And now my thought is like, well, I can't do that anymore because he's going to look better. He's going to actually have more opportunity. And so, if you have nothing, I mean, I think you have to think about it's a terrible price to lay, but like, I wouldn't go long shot. I was like really thinking about going long shot hunting in this market. Like, 6-man, I think a lot of people are trying to do the same thing. And I can't do that now because now maybe the favorite's not, I thought maybe we had a vulnerable favorite. We use that term a lot. We probably don't have one anymore because he's just going to be the primary scorer on a team that's like going for a playoff spot. And some big stat games could end up following, provided he comes back from this injury. Jokic is the guy who has gotten a lot of the win probability. He's the guy whose price has dropped the most, right? So the expectation among kind of bettors right now is, okay, if Embiid's out, like the coast is clear for Jokic to maybe win his 3rd most valuable player. Do you agree with that Jokic should have kind of gotten the most, win probability when Embiid was out? Do you have like a contrarian take maybe on how this is going to play out? As you've started to put this together, man, what do I want to do with MVP right now? What kind of conclusions are you coming to?
I think maybe slightly more should have gone to Shea, like where Jokic is around -120, -130, depending on where you look. Maybe he should be closer to even money, and Shea is down at like +250, something along there. Just like more nitpicking than anything. But it seems like it's the right 4 guys that are clearly in that tier separating themselves. But I know personally I have some Jokic and I have some SGA. I'm very content to just sit on my hands for a while right now and just let this play out some, because I really do think it is going to come down to these 2 guys. Yeah, it's disappointing that Jokic is out tonight for that game in Oklahoma City. That would have been a lot of fun. But like looking at the greater context of both of these teams right now, you understand it, you get it. But I really think even though, Luka took some of that probability and Giannis took some of that probability, at this point to me, it still comes down to Jokic or SGA.
Anthony, it's been a few weeks since we had you on, so we haven't done the song in a while. You haven't we gassed up the jet, or I guess you could take the train a lot of times in Europe to go play. But it's Where in the World is Anthony DeBundo?
No, tell me.
Base there. Where are we going? We got like a minute left.
Yeah, so real quick, AFCON, if Nigeria is below -140 against Angola, I like them on Friday afternoon. It should be some daytime soccer for you in AFCON quarterfinals. African Cup of Nations, been an amazing tournament. In terms of the official bet, though, we'll go to Spain. We've got a huge one this weekend in the capital of Spain in Madrid. We got Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. This is their fourth meeting already this season, so they've played a ton this year between cups and regular La Liga matchups. The total continues to be priced way too low, and any total that these two teams play below 3 is just too low. So at 275, I like the over. It's a little juiced right now to -120, but I'm okay with it. Real Madrid's defense, middle of the pack in La Liga in pretty much every metric. They're not a good defense. And going up against an Atleti team, when you think of Atleti, you think of Simeone and great defenses. That has not really been the case either. They're outside the top 5 in most defensive metrics too. So should be goals in this one. I like the over.